This meeting and all other meetings in the committee is open to the public. Proper notice has been posted and given to the press according to the Wisconsin statutes. The citizenry may be aware of the time, place, and agenda of this meeting. Call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Gage,
Here.
Gunderson,
Here?
Nadowski.
Here.
Approve the minutes of August 1st, 2016.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of August 1st, 2016.
I'll second.
All motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Citizen appearance.
That should be open.
Do you want to
Why is it action right now?
No, it's not, it's unlocked. That's a good question. I've been in a number of places that have just had it closed, but it's unlocked. We have the little stick reel, or the little,
Generally, we have always kept them open. I mean,
yeah,
in other ones I've always been to, it's always been open too. But I don't know that technically it has to be, it's just everywhere I've been to, they've had open door.
yeah. I mean, with the glass and all that, you can see it's
Yeah.
open. When it's closed, we don't lock it either, but.
Well, and that's just why. Open
Yeah.
door is open door, closed door is closed door, you know?
Yeah, I can kick the little triangle in there, so. Who was the second on the minutes? I'm sorry.
I was.
Thank you.
Engineer report.
Item number one is the wastewater treatment plant construction update. The contractor is finishing up punch list items, and he is in for a pay request for $25,000. There is still about $100,000 out there to pay him. So their punch list items are real close to being completed, and we should be finalizing soon.
Maybe Google. Pay request number 15 for $25,000 from Myron Construction.
You're making a motion on that?
I'm saying someone's got a motion, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought you were making it.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve pay request 15 to Myron for $25,000.
I'll second it.
Contingent upon receipt of legal
Legal
waivers.
Any waivers, yes.
Thank you.
Almost
All in
forgot.
favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thought
Motion
I was
carried.
thinking about it beforehand too.
The wastewater treatment plant, City Hall certified survey maps, the things we're still waiting on with those. City Hall is the recorded document for the land transfer. And
From the
then
bank, yep.
And Patrick's working on the easement language with the attorney. And then the wastewater treatment plant, we're waiting on Weyauwega's with their easement put on there, and then they're done, ready to go.
Yeah, so the question that's been posed to Attorney Kelly is, because we've been holding that item based on Weyauwega's recording their easement, can we get a CSM and file it that makes a reference that there are, it escapes me at the moment, but we're asking for the correct language that references that there are easements, but because Weyauwega's hasn't filed them yet, we don't have them to show up on the document. And I think, like I said, maybe last month or a month before, we could just go ahead with our CSM now.
Yes.
But it's because we know there's these other easements out there that we've been kind of holding up on it. It's not anything else other than that. Except for the fact that with this land transfer from the bank, we're not purchasing it, we did some pavement for them.
Yeah.
And they're essentially,
That's separate.
Giving it.
Is that a separate one though?
well, we have to do that, but then we're going to incorporate that new land into the CSM for City Hall and the parking lot, so.
Yeah.
It's gonna end up being combined into one.
That one doesn't have a hole or anything.
No. Well, the City Hall does, cause we have these easement on the back
on
here
here
yet
too?
too, we're waiting for one on each, I believe, right?
Yeah, well, the one with the Weyauwega's in the back is we went to Weyauwega's and asked them where their copies of their easements, and they said they don't provide them
They said we need to go
to the
pay a
courthouse.
title search firm to search for them, essentially.
Or the other option was we were gonna put on the note on the plan, on the CSM, it says there are Weyauwega's easements, and they do abide by what's on the CSM, but they're not shown.
Okay, so it's just how to legally word that.
Yeah.
Right.
update on the capital improvements plan for CIPs.
We did have a very good discussion, Don, myself, and Thad, probably for an hour and a half this evening during our CIP meeting time, but it was related to the developments with Agripier, which ultimately is related to paying for the treatment plant, which is a CIP item. So we didn't get a whole lot done. I did make a note in the packet that we had a staff meeting to hammer this out tonight. With the CIP, we don't have that ready. And in the closed session tonight, we'll talk about those Agripier developments that I mentioned. But one of the things we're looking at is on the advice from the chair, Mr. Gage, we're looking at, are there options we can do to some of the roads like West Street, Parker, south to Elizabeth? Are there some things we can do this fall or next spring that'll, I don't wanna say Band-Aid, but get us through and extend the life out for a few years? With the aim that by 2022, all of our existing road debt is paid off. And as we pay that off, the CIP is a 10-year document, which is gonna get us to 2026. Can we do some of this work that's gonna have an immediate benefit and then show in the CIP where 3 years or 4 years later, maybe it's a more significant water, sewer, road, curb, everything. Where right now the problems are really with some of the surface of the road. And ideally, if we're gonna do anything with that, it's nicer to spend a little bit of money if in 4 or 5 years we gotta dig up water and sewer anyway and dig up the whole works. So those are some of the things we're looking at right now.
Yeah.
Do we have any more roads or streets left that have to have by, what was the DNR border here a few years back, that so many had to be dug up and sewer and water replaced?
No, what that was about is any of them that had sanitary sewer,
Yeah.
water main that went through the sanitary sewer
Yeah,
manholes,
that's what I'm looking
all
at.
those have been corrected.
Okay,
So we did all our wraparounds on the ones that we needed to, there's
Right.
about 30 or 40 of them.
I thought we
did
still
them
had
over a
East
10-year
Street.
period. So those we're good with, it's just some of the sewers that you're having problems with, they're aging, and some of the water main you're having, water main breaks, those are the ones we're starting to prioritize.
Okay.
What do we got here in town for that lead-based pipes? Like Flint, Michigan has, do we got a lot of, we have a lot of that in town here?
There are some laterals mostly, I would believe. They're around.
And when it comes to laterals,
But our testing all shows that's all.
We do, yeah, Dana requires us to test.
Yeah, right on.
We do add polyphosphate to our water to prevent the lead from getting into the water and running into the problems that Flint had, so.
when we run that newsletter, the city newsletter that we put out in June, the main purpose for that is to distribute our CCR report, the Consumer Confidence Report, which is all of our water testing and reporting out. So we run it because we have to get that out to the public. That document has evolved to be more of a newsletter because it will throw on, because we already have to send something out to the public, we add on ordinances and events and schedules and things like that. So in the heart of that newsletter is all of our water results, and doesn't have everything that's associated with water. I think I had a request one time
Yeah.
about,
Yep,
well, we were looking at the potential for microbrewery at one point.
Yeah.
And all of the water information that they need for their processes isn't all reported out, but all the Flint, Michigan type danger zones, I guess, that's all the stuff that we report out. So,
And any water main relays that we do, if there are lead laterals, we replace those.
Place them, yeah. I was wondering, what would we have in town here that's like that,
You see a
Should be
lot of
quite a bit up
those.
north, or up.
Occasionally we see them in houses, but it's not often.
Typically where I'm seeing them in the relays is from the main to the property line.
Okay.
And then from the property line into the house is most of the time is copper,
Yeah.
so.
hello, sir. What's up? No. Anybody that wants to metal detect in the park needs to go to the recreation committee for approval right now. Okay? Perfect, thank you. Bye.
Nixon business.
Upset.
Somebody hear that today or what?
Yeah, somebody's up there right now, so.
Hey, discussion
Until
on
next
the,
week, then
Mhm.
the ordinance is gonna be changed to reflect, not the rec committee, but
For you?
maybe he'll come tomorrow, yeah.
discussion on the city dump truck, repairs and maintenance.
So you have a list in your packet. In working with Mr. Gage, we've identified, first of all, what we did is we dropped the dump truck up at the county garage to have them look through it at their convenience. What they came back with is a list of parts that, because we just bought the truck, a lot of these things should be replaced, or, you know, if it's like a new to you type truck, these are things that if we get them fixed, it'll be like new to us. The brakes are in bad shape, especially the rear brakes. And as we're looking at this attachment here, this column shows you the parts. This is cost on the parts. The second column is estimated labor if we would have the county highway department do this without using any overtime. And what that means is that we probably have a month and a half worth of work where it's at their shop. The one item that would be maybe not a repair would be a used spreader, which I believe used to be on one of the trucks that I think Bruce had driven.
Yeah.
They have a spare spreader that would allow our dump truck that we have to operate as a salt and salt spreading truck. Now, the $450 price that they identified here is what they could junk it for. That's their salvage value. They would be willing to sell it to us for $450 and then install it again at an estimated cost. But what we're looking at here is brakes, get the brakes done with hardware, replace the slack adjusters, brake drums, hydraulic hose, most or all of the hydraulic hose underneath the truck is dragging on the front axle, and so as the axle's turning, it's
And the drive.
grinding on the it's grinding on the hose fittings. They did hook up the batteries, test out the electrical. What they would recommend is batteries, just replace those. Everything else seemed to be in good shape. Carbide blades would be attached to the plow and the wing. The carbides, and Bruce can maybe give a little bit of advice too, but his recommendation on the carbides is that you go through one set of carbides in a year, and each trip you make is like a 100-mile route.
Yeah.
So the thought there would be that these tips on these blades would be good for a number of years on this truck. Power steering, transmission harness, exhaust hangers. A lot of the stuff that's on this truck is not properly mounted to the
Yeah,
truck. A lot of it is hanging
rigged up.
or wired up and hanging on the truck. What we could get done is to replace these things that were maybe Band-Aid fixes, get them replaced on the truck. And then some machining work. We have some rusting concern spots that there's estimated costs on machining them down. On the plow, the front wall of the box on the back of the truck, push arm. There's a tail light that the guy that we bought it from replaced the tail light, but the wiring in the tail light is off. If you're turning right, the left blinker is going on, so that's not a great thing. The heater, I do not believe is working. And then there's the passenger side window that if it's rolled down, it will not roll back up. It's not a good thing. This top level here, like I said, County Highway Garage would be able to essentially for their cost, get this up and running for us. Their labor, again, they estimated what they would look at doing is not, they'd be staying within these numbers, but it wouldn't be like an overtime type thing. If that's the case, the truck that we had purchased, I think it was just roughly $24,000 for $7,100 at an estimated cost would essentially be like new to us. Everything would be replaced on it. be good to go. There's that. The next in line would be if we were gonna look at like servicing oil, fluids and things like that, that's what they have an estimate. If they would get all the fluids and things like that changed. Right now, we skip around to 6 to 7 to 8 different repair type shops. Some of it's based on who did we buy the vehicle from, is it under warranty? When it gets into bigger vehicles, this is gonna be probably the biggest vehicle we've had for quite some time. I don't know, just in talking with the county highway, I don't know that we would get a better deal than cost on some of these things. Now, if for $9,000 we could go to someone else locally to get it done, we may do that. We have not brought that truck out there to have anybody else look at it. We had it driven to the county highway shop because with the electrical and fear that it's maybe not road ready, we didn't really want to be toting it around town. So there's some things that the county, Greg at the county had mentioned to me that, you know, some of these things they don't have to do, they could get by, make some things to get by. But I don't know, in my opinion, whether that's the best route to go to save $400 or $500 to try to get by, and then when we're gonna put this to work, it's gonna be in the middle of winter in town here. So I wanted to bring this to you guys to let you know that the truck itself, with these repairs, we're looking at a little over $30,000 on this truck then, and it should be set to go for a number of years then. The cost that we got on a brand new truck, I think we got 3 quotes, not hard quotes, but 3 rough ballpark figures. It was $140,000 to $160,000 for a brand new truck. We didn't buy a brand new truck, but we've got a truck that should run for a number of years, so. I wanted to run this by you guys to make sure that you're aware that this is what we're looking to do. I think it seems to be reasonable, and like I said at the end, then we're gonna have a truck that, for all the same reasons of why we bought it, we can put it to good use then too.
I don't think we have a choice. We bought the truck, we have to use it. We can't put something out that's not road ready. I mean, the
Well,
reality is,
And if you're gonna put it in the shop, might as well do it now.
right,
before
you want it
snow
ready for
starts to
winter.
fly.
Right, so I mean, I guess this is just,
So we
You
had
do
it,
what you gotta
it's
do.
it's at the county, right, and that's kind of where we figured we would go with it. Now, I did talk to Bruce about the costs. Bruce and I had a good back and forth discussion on which one of these things could you put off. And after our discussion, I mean, I feel pretty good about just doing these things, just getting them done.
get them done while it's in there, just get it done.
Yeah.
Cause then also we got, hopefully going forward is wear and
Right.
tear.
Right, absolutely.
So I think it makes sense.
Especially if stuff's not done right with like the hydraulic hoses. Guarantee when you need it, it's gonna break and
Actually,
then,
when we crawled under there, transmission wire, he just crawled under there, took the tape off, and it was all bare wires. And I said, well, the salt's gonna get in there and they're gonna end up with problems,
Right.
and we're gonna have a foot of snow, and
Yeah.
since our truck, it ain't gonna go.
Oh, yeah.
So, that's a must, that's
If you can do one, you do everything, you just
Yep.
get it completed right away.
I think we gotta thank Bruce for getting it down there,
yeah,
as we couldn't have a better group of guys working on it, cause they're getting their own plows ready for winter. And them guys got all kinds of experience putting them together the way they're supposed to be,
Well,
and, yeah, we'd be goofy if we didn't go along with this. Get it done.
it just makes sense to have the county do it too. Like you
Yep.
said, they're doing their trucks, they know what they're doing.
They do it every day.
Yeah.
He said next time it comes in, they're trying to get it in by August,
Right.
because now we're starting to put our trucks in and.
okay.
Yep.
So do we need a motion here?
I would ask for one just because of the dollar amount.
Okay. I think, so I'll make a motion to,
Put the sander on too.
well, that's in there.
Yeah, so that's,
Yeah,
that's.
everything
so
that's on there,
That's
right?
in there.
includes the sander, we're buying the sander and installing it.
Yep.
Which
So
is
now,
not
hold on
$70
one second though, are we doing the service package right away as well? I would assume.
Yeah,
I think that's for sure they do the
Yeah.
service thing.
Well, yeah, cause I know
Oils.
we got all clean flushed oil.
Right,
Oil's the heartbeat in, you know.
Yep, so I'll make a motion to approve the, estimate for the city dump truck for $8,389.04.
I'll second it.
All motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Good job, Bruce.
Yeah,
One
nice.
thing, other thing I think we better think about doing is getting a spare tire. Just in case,
Sure.
you know,
Yeah.
run into
Do
something.
we have, the means to change one?
Yeah, we got a jack and socket for it.
Socket might.
So how about we just investigate that
Actually-
one at this
actually-
point?
To be honest, I do probably do. We do have some large sockets for sure, and we do have a jack that I'd have to look.
Not know if you
I,
get a
not
tire,
knowing,
I'm
not
sure,
knowing the weight of the truck, we do
Can't
have a
fix it
large
flat.
jack.
Get the tire, but you
Sure,
can't run with it.
big motors can probably help out changing the tire too, you know, as long as we have a spare, I think.
Yeah, I guess as long as we have a plan for it.
Yeah.
I mean, otherwise, it's as dead as it's gonna be either way.
Yeah.
So that's a good thought to think about now, I guess.
Yep.
Okay. Yard waste site update.
Do we have the downtown electrical?
Skip number 6.
Oh, yeah.
That is number 6.
No,
Yard waste site update.
seems like you're in the wrong
Oh,
one.
he's got like
Oh,
a
you got
couple
the
different
agenda?
packets on there.
So, there was a revised agenda that I sent out Saturday morning. So item number 6 is probably on Jack's agenda.
Yeah, I got it here.
Discussion on downtown electrical and trees. We have been working, and Elke Electric, I think probably all summer, has been looking into our electrical boxes in these trees downtown, and downtown is Main, Mill. There are trees missing, we need to replace them. There are electrical boxes that are plastic that need to be replaced, and there are some that work, some that don't. Now, the problem we ran into is that the company that installed them, I do not believe is in business anymore. And we should be replacing trees, except it doesn't make sense to go replace trees if we're gonna dig up the electrical around them too. So there's a little bit of a one thing first. But we did talk to Elke Electric. I know the mayor has talked to the Elkes on and off a little bit about it too. We haven't been able to get a quoted price on this electrical system, but the reason why is because the company that installed it, and without digging everything up, it's hard to see what everything looks like. Is there sand in some of this conduit? What is the problem? And not knowing what the problem is, I think I could speak for Elke by saying that it's hard to come together on a quoted price too. So I've talked to the mayor a couple times about this, and I think the best way to go, which is what we both relayed to Elke, is to say, can you come up with something of an estimated cost that seems reasonable? And if they're in the middle of this project, they find that there is sand in the lines or something major is wrong, come back to us yet, or at least get some kind of an understanding that we'll work with a company, try to make sure that they can get us, maybe not a competitive price if it's only one company, but do whatever needs to be done. I'm talking in circles a little bit, but it's hard to figure out what is wrong until you get into it, and how can you get a quoted price. So what I'm thinking is, and what we've passed to Elke is to say, can you get something of a price to get going on the project? Come back to us and say, for this, I threw out a number and said, I mean, is this a $10,000 project to replace all these outlets and whatever needs to be done? And they said, well, we don't know. We don't think so, but
Okay,
It's
and
hard
what
to
do
know.
we only use them for Christmas tree lights, correct?
that's another thing too. Yep. So I don't have a proposal for you to vote on tonight. It's more to say, people ask, why are the outlets broke and why are the trees not replaced? And it's because we're trying to figure out the best way to go at it, and I don't know that we're gonna get one. But to your point, that gets to step 2 where we're assuming that we are gonna replace it.
Let's,
So maybe,
Well, the other
do
question.
we wanna replace that?
What if we,
I guess would be a good
What
question.
if we just say, and I don't even know if this is possible, but can we have them just dig up one, find out what, you know, what it looks like, pay a certain price for that one, and then from there,
Well,
hey, at least then they have a better idea of what the heck's going on. yeah, sure, we're open and exposed on that one, but then it's only one. I don't know if it's
Right.
that easy or not.
Biggest problem that Greg said, Elke, you never got into this, did you, Dad?
You know what we're talking about though, right? The,
Yeah, the streets, I only did the highway.
Anyway, they're all underground.
Mhm.
And apparently, the Mill Street, the controls for it, or the connection, the switches, are in the Legion building. And nobody knows why they got put there. And then number one, that should, that
Yeah.
Mill Street is shorted out. And they might dig up one and find it, but there's about 4 of them already broke off, so
Yeah.
automatically they're shorted out, so. Number one, they wanna get to the point to get it out of the Legion building, where we got control of it. And the wires are underground the whole length of the street, and he said, I can dig one up, to dig 2 up and find it beautiful, but then down below somewhere. And he also said one of the biggest problems that he's found just by what he's looking at so far, we had some dead trees out there, and when they come in the tractor and pulled them out, they pulled the wires and everything with it. So they broke that connection, and he says, and did they stretch that wire from another point A to point B, or in the middle? And so he said, I can't give you a price on it, but we can start on it, tell you X number of dollars, we'll go that far and let you know what we found.
I just think there has to be discussion. It's used for a couple months out of the year.
Yeah, but I get enough people asking about them that,
Yeah, but it doesn't mean we couldn't do other things that would necessitate that.
I would like to see them done. Someday maybe we can put Christmas lights back up again, you know?
But that still would have nothing to do with those.
Well,
I mean, and that's just it, Jack.
Yeah.
It really wouldn't have anything to do with those.
yeah,
Because those are only in the tree. So, and we don't allow people to plug in and use them. We've never allowed it for horse and buggy days or anything else because they're not of high enough wattage for anybody to do that. So,
and the one note is, so for horse and buggy days, the chamber year-round pays for their own electrical service on the side of the road that they
Right.
run the beer tent off of.
Right.
So that's not even
No.
on that system too,
right.
which
That-
is,
and
I
that-
know what you said, but.
And that's just it. You know, I'm just looking at the dollar amounts we're spending and really, what are you getting out of it?
Yeah, I think it's still worthwhile to get a cost estimate.
Yeah,
And then from there,
I-
I mean, if it comes back that, hey, it's probably gonna take 15 grand to even get into it,
Right.
I don't know that we want Christmas lights
We-
that bad.
So
Maybe
basically,
we
them
do,
are
but-
only for the Christmas lights you're putting on the trees then.
Right.
Yeah,
They're just used,
That's all they're used for. And it just becomes a matter of, trees can be decorated with numerous things.
yeah.
yeah.
a lot of people like to decorate the tree in front of their place themselves.
And they
No,
should
that's no
still
fault.
can do that. But they're not hanging lights on them.
You're a Scrooge.
I'm not a Scrooge, I'm being realistic with the taxpayers' dollars.
You just get candles and put candles in the
Maybe
trees
they
like
can-
the old days.
Because we haven't had any luck with trees either. Maybe trees aren't even the way to go. Maybe we should planting something else.
Yeah, there's a.
We've had terrible luck with all of our trees.
Some trees that maybe are in more heavily salted sidewalk areas,
Right.
and then those trees tend to die out.
We have one tree that
Makes sense.
repeatedly seems to get hit by cars and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
One
the
gets
big
broken
thing
in
is
front of the bar.
Yep.
that electric, I mean, and there's 2 different sections, and I think there are 2 different control boxes too, because I think there's another one down by BMO.
Mhm.
But I think there's a lot of coming and going in this system. There probably shouldn't have been plastic outlets put in anywhere because, of course, it's easy to say that now, so I won't punch backwards, but yeah, that's not a good idea. But there's a lot that's gotta get done. I don't know that we're gonna get a number with some effort. Now, we might get a number to get into it, but even that one, I don't know that you can have a lot of trust in because you just won't know.
I
You
think
get
they're
to
gonna
dig
find
everything
it's a
up, so-
mess, because I think that was done between the chamber and hometown and a number of other things, and I think they did it on the cheap. I think that you're gonna find, when you dig into it,
Would it be possible to, because they are on 2 different circuits, can we just do one at a time? Let's do Main Street.
Figure one out, see if they can
and
figure
See
anything
if
out.
they can figure out Main Street, and, cause that's
I
That's the
think
one
Main
thing.
Street's in a lot better shape.
It's
because
in a lot better shape, the lights.
every winter, there's more
downtown.
trees on Main Street that are lit now. They all have lights in
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not all of them light
So-
up. So,
Mill Street is, I
intent
don't
is
know
there.
that any of the outlets on Mill Street work. So maybe we start on Main Street and tell them just, let's focus there and get those working for this Christmas, and then we'll look at the other one.
Yeah.
See what it costs to do Main Street first.
It might be such thing as, if you can find a broken one, say out here, that got pulled out or whatever, eliminate that outlet, get that together and test it from either end, and maybe just cut down on the number of outlets,
Yeah.
and make sure some work, but not all of them if they can.
Right?
That might just be the way they got pulled apart or run over. Test them, they can test them and find out, you know, where the short is or whatever the.
We're gonna pull that together. I'd like to have something brought to you next month, but I think for sure we gotta take some kind of an inventory on what's working, what's not, and then
Yeah,
go from there. So that's, just so you know, I wanted to get it out in the meeting that we're looking at it. And it's not just one of these things where I say that and then it just gets taken for whatever it gets taken for. It's really, I mean, we just don't know what the effort would be, but we can pull that together for you next month. Give you an update on where we're at. Okay?
Okay.
Administrator and operations supervisor report.
You're way off. You need to get with the newer.
Yard waste thing.
First, we have the water rate study proposal.
Where am I on my?
How are you?
There was an agenda that was sent Friday night that did
Oh,
not
that's
have
just what I'm
the
on.
electrical or the water rate
Got
study.
an old agenda.
Okay, I'm on yard waste site agenda, update.
We are, do we have the,
We need the water rate first.
Yeah, water rates first.
I'll find it, see if I can.
here, I got it on the TV there,
I can't see
number 7.
that. Okay, discussion on possible action of the water rates study proposal.
So, we talked to you about this idea that because we have borrowed money for our water utility, that we're required to make or earn a certain level moving forward to maintain that. Basically, they wanna know that you're earning enough that you can put aside money to help reinvest into your system and help pay your debt. This last year, we did not make enough money, and so our audit came out final within the last week and a half. And when you don't hit your required mark, you're required to file a notice of, basically a notice that you didn't hit your mark. So we did that. You get 10 days from when your audit comes out. Ellers did that. As part of that, typically when you have to file one of those notices, they also want to know what did you do about it. Typically what you look at with your water rates is that you do, like we did with sewer rates, we did a sewer rate study. What Ellers is proposing is that they can carry out a water rate study and carry you through, if we have to go to the Public Service Commission to request that we increase rates, if that's what's recommended by the water rate study. It's probably likely that we will have to do that, but what they did in their packet here is that they had quoted an amount of $8,500 to complete that study and carry you through the process of going to the Public Service Commission. That's in Appendix B. So they'd be looking for all this information here, and under compensation, here's what they're looking at. Application to increase water rates, if it gets to that, and then a cash flow analysis for the water utility. So, a recommendation would be that we would recommend moving forward with approving that proposal on water rate study.
Now I'll make a motion to approve their proposal for the water rate study with Ellers for $8,500.
When would you have to move forward with this? Or when would they tell you that you have to move forward?
They wanna know that you're doing something about it now. I think it's from the moment that you start a study to the moment that you get an application to PSC and get it ruled on, it's like 4 months, 5 months?
No,
Depends on the water rate study to it, or the 3% increase is a.
And the 3% is kind of like an express type increase, if there is one, where you can just file and apply for it. And if it's more than 3%, it's a more in-depth
Yeah, couple
hearing
pages,
review.
couple pages for the 3% simplified. And then if you go beyond that 3%, then it's a full rate study.
Yeah. Which is, yeah.
Okay. I'll second it.
All motion say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. They gotta get it back up on this one.
Now we're on the yard waste.
Now it's yard waste site.
I gotta get it back.
So on the yard waste side, what I wanted to do is keep that as something of like just a standing item, because we did talk about potential improvements to be made. Back in 2013, the DNR showed up and did an audit, and audited what we were doing, and audited everyone across the state, because they're supposed to be doing that every 2 years. And it had been 10 plus before. And so when they were here in 2013, they said, okay, we'll see you in 2 years. We didn't see them last year, but I got a call this afternoon that they will be there tomorrow afternoon, just to take a look at how things are progressing. What does the site look like? What kind of activity do we have going on? They will be out there. And one of the good things there is, I think I'd like to get their opinion on, 3 years ago when they showed up, it was pretty much, it sat for 10 years. Now, we have made some improvements there, but with the site, there's some issues with the way it's laid out, with the way, we're not working on blacktop or hard surface, we're working on whatever the old material used to be, so. And some of the concerns they have is usually it's like stormwater runoff, and some of it runs out of this site, a lot of it
Stays
too,
right
so
there.
that's gonna be a question that we'll look at.
It's raining tomorrow.
One of the interesting topics of the yard waste site is related to the brush that we hold on to. This is outside of the audit for the DNR, but the problem we've run into with this brush is that every time we hire somebody to come and chip it and haul it away, it's like $6,000 to $8,000. And usually we do that once a year, $6,000 to $8,000. Now, if we could get to a point where we held more, Kafka Land Clearing out of Merrill and some of these other big companies would come and take it for no charge at all, and then ship it up to like the alternative fuel plants. So the dilemma I have personally, and the city's gonna have, is that as we stockpile brush, it looks like not very good, but to keep that cleared and to keep people chipping it and trucking it out, it's half of our budget for the year to do that. If we could stockpile more, the incentive is that somebody would come take it for nothing. And so that really is what's driving this discussion to look to expand the site. It's not so much for the grass and the leaves, it's more, can we get a bigger load for brush or a bigger area for brush? Because when we've talked about potentially moving across the street, the problem is that gets harder to move the grass and leaves, because right now we're just moving it in the site. If we'd have to truck it across the street, that's gonna take a lot more time and it's gonna be a slower process, but I think I'm probably gonna ask the DNR, what are their thoughts on the brush and holding the brush? They don't regulate the brush so much, they're more concerned with the compost and that material and the stormwater runoff, but as I was watching back on some of these old meetings, because I do that recreationally sometimes, what caught me by surprise is that I didn't tell you, or didn't stress more, the idea that the more brush we have, the less it costs us to get rid of it. Now, I think it might have been taken for granted, but it's an interesting problem, because the more we have, the worse it looks, but the less it costs to get rid of it. So, among the other things we've got going, that's one of the aims, is to try to not spend $6,000 to $8,000 a
Do you have to
year
get,
if we don't have to.
We have to get sites approved. So in other words, if we were to look at other sites, would they have to be approved prior to us using? And if so, maybe we ask them for their thoughts, feelings
So,
on different sites that we have available to
One,
us.
yep. One question I'm gonna have for tomorrow relates to stormwater rules because the site we have now is the site we've always used. And so we're grandfathered in on some level. But if we would make a big change, my question would be, do we have to put in, I don't think we gotta put in a pond on that site, but what do we have to do with stormwater? Because if they come out and they say, for the compost, you might have to leave it in place, but for the brush, maybe you can move that across the street.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask you, can we just move the brush across the street?
Yeah,
And even if that means fencing it and putting something, you know, putting the dividers in the cyclone fence so people can't see it as much,
right,
Yeah,
you know?
that could be an option too.
yeah.
Just, you know, and keep the compost, the grass, the weeds where it is,
Yep.
because that can then be put to a much smaller area, really.
I guess what I always thought of too, though, is just that it'd be nice if it was a drive-through site, so that way you can have it, you drop off this material here, this material here, this material here, you're gone. Would be nice, and I know we can't do that at the water tower, so that's why I guess I'm kind of open to the idea, plus anything that gets the cost down, because that's one of our
Oh, yeah.
main eaters.
Yeah, so if we're able to expand the site, move that brush, there's two things that we've taken this year that are gonna be really big deals out there. One is gonna be, whenever we had to get somebody to move material, we had to pay $4 to $5 grand for Fox to come with a dump truck. Well, we have a truck. It's not a big heavy duty dual axle truck, but it's a truck. And then if we can get that brush out there to where we could stockpile it, now the brush isn't gonna break down and stink and all that as much as grass would.
Right.
If you can get enough where somebody will come for free, that's just a no-brainer. So those are the two things we're looking at, and the ordinance committee has been reviewing our ordinances out there on dumping, and we did meet this afternoon, we've got a little bit more direction on that too, so. Working on that too. That's all I really got for the update, is we'll get the DNR audit and pick their brain quite a bit, and then we'll go from there.
Operations supervisor report?
The only thing I'll add is, and Don was maybe gonna drop a line on this too, but Brandon, what's that?
It's got YouTube though.
Oh, yeah, so I'll throw out, we did have a leadership supervisory training. It was a webinar through the City Managers Association that was for free. We set up in here, myself, Don, and Brandon. That was an hour and a half, and then we had a nice discussion for an hour afterwards on how can we, as a city and public works, coordinate better with the police department, or coordinate more on nuisances, grass, junk. And we had a very good discussion on that. We had a good discussion on goals with the city, staff goals and things like that for next year. But one of the things that we have been talking about relates to junk items that are at the curb that people just put out there. Now, Brandon and the police department have been working with property owners to say, hey, you have to take that away from the curb. But the problem is, people are taking it from the curb and putting it up next to their house, and now it's just sitting there. So, what we're considering and what we've talked about, and I don't have it fully identified yet, but what we've talked about is that maybe in the next couple of weeks, we take one of the city middle-sized dump trucks, go around town, load it up, run all this stuff up to Manoa to the dump, just to get it out of town. And then turn around, and then whatever we gotta do to bill each property owner, that's gonna be something that, you know, we can tell people, stop storing your stuff out at the road, but if they take it up and they put it in their backyard, that's not really helping anything. So is there something that we could be doing, help that out a little bit more? The other thing I did want to drop a line to you about is, we do send out letters to homeowners on brush and grass and things like that, and we've been working on that. We do have Green Boys out of Weyauwega, who usually comes through Thursdays and Fridays, and we've had them cutting 3 properties. They pretty much just mark down every other week they're here to cut vacant properties. But we also have Andy Leaf, which is when I talk about the weed spraying chainsaw gentleman who charges us a flat rate. He covers his chemicals, everything. He's the one that went out and did the work at the boat launches, did some weed whacking, trimming, spraying. Wednesday, he is gonna be tackling along the lake from the bridge north and then around the corner on Parkview Lane. He's gonna be doing cutting, and he's gonna do some spraying, and the spray is gonna be water-friendly spray, but he's requested that we put up some signs that just say he's spraying. He doesn't want anybody walking down the sidewalk or walking in there. Now, the reason I put this on the record is that what he's spraying is safe, but that doesn't mean that whoever wants to go fish or whatever there while he's spraying needs to be in there with their face in it. So I'm hoping that if we put up a sign saying that he's spraying, people don't freak out about it. Part of why I bring that up is maybe just to do a little test panel here with you guys. Does that make sense that we put a sign up?
Yeah, we
And
should
have him
put a
spray?
sign up, but then when he's here,
Mhm.
have him look at all the streets in the city. We got stuff growing everywhere. We've
Well,
got,
he's been in town because he's cut dead trees that are.
well, not
right
only
away,
dead
like on Ann
trees, but the
Street,
stuff
all
we
over.
have growing in our gutters
Mhm.
in the road. We have boxweed, we have all sorts of stuff growing up now, and if we continue to let those roots grow, we're gonna have bigger problems.
Yep,
So maybe we can have him spray
yeah,
everywhere.
Yeah.
There's quite a few, I've noticed
yeah.
Because we can't be picking on the residents for their yards if our streets are looking tough too.
Right.
And granted, this has been a banner year for everything growing. The weeds, with all the water and the heat, the weeds are going crazy, you know, but,
So that's, the main thing is that he's gonna be spraying Wednesday, it's not we'll have a sign up, but it's safe for the water and everything like that, so. That's not good.
I don't have a whole lot more to add to that. We've been, we have the treatment plant stuff is, we've been testing new polymers on the new press. We're finding better stuff than we had. But we're still not getting the production there that we would have expected. Otherwise, starting towards fall, the grass is growing, so we're working on keeping up with the grass, and we got some hydrants to turn open coming up and valves to turn. We've got borrowing a power valve turner from Rural Water. We should be getting that the first week of October, so we can put a guy on a truck with that, and they're lending us a generator for it as well. So we'll be able to get our valves turned here in the next month or so and get the hydrants done, and then we'll have some jetting to do yet in fall here to get our trouble spots and make sure those are all clean before winter. And otherwise, that's pretty much all I got for you, I think.
Down there, that belt press or whatever that isn't operating the way you expected it to. Is there an answer out there somewhere, or?
What it may come down to is replacing the polymer feed system. What we ended up doing was marrying our old polymer system to the new press, and it's not operating the way we would have expected it to. So probably what's gonna have to happen at some point is gonna be a replacement of that, an upgrade of that system to make that press run the way it should. And talking to 4 different polymer guys, they've all recommended that we change from a dry polymer to a emulsified polymer, basically liquid polymer, because they can do more things with that. As far as the dry polymers are strictly linear, and the emulsified polymers can be cross-hatched, and it'd be stronger to hold the sludge together through the press. So basically, from just talking to the guys who know their stuff in the industry, it seems like an emulsified system is what we should be looking at if we do decide that we're going to change it. So that's probably where we're.
I guess did they come up with a a reason? I mean, is it in the design, or is it built wrong, or
It's
we were
hard to
told it
say.
was gonna do one thing and then now it doesn't do it, and whose fault is that, I guess, sort of?
That's hard to say. It's hard. I don't know the answer to that. We've got stuff that when we did the design, we were looking at this system lasting 3 to 5 years anyways. And whether we're now, the initial design was to be done in 2013, so we're 3 years away from that now. So was it overlooked in the original or in the redesign? I would hesitate to make a for sure statement on that.
See, because
You
what
got
we
any
looked
input on
at,
that,
what we
Pat?
looked at in the design was we looked at changing out the press. You know, we didn't, because the belt, if you remember the conveyor that goes out to the shed,
Yeah.
that we didn't look at, and the polymer feed system. We looked at changing out the actual press itself from the type that was in there now. We changed it to a different type of press, totally different type of press. And the polymer feed system wasn't addressed as part of that change out of equipment.
Should it have been?
Potentially looking back at, probably should have at least been looked at and talked about.
Okay.
Same thing with conveyors, you know, the conveyor that goes out there, if you remember what we did with that, all we did was replace some wheels on that, and we kept the same conveyor and utilized that, you know, if you look at an upgrade like that, you know, you could have looked at replacing everything, but it comes a point in time, you know, the cost of the project was starting to grow, and as you said, Nick, you know, no doubt it probably should have been looked at, but at that point in time, given the option to say yes or no, we're gonna do it, knowing that the cost of the project wasn't gonna expand.
Thanks.
Set October Public Works meeting date.
It's, this, if you're looking at the second Monday, I believe it is October 10th.
6:30 again?
Sounds good.
Sure.
Such other matters authorized by law.
I have none.
Okay. Guess we go into closed session, huh?
Yeah.
We go into closed session? All right, I'll make a motion to go to closed session pursuant with 19.851E Wisconsin statutes. Deliberation or negotiation for the purchase of public properties, investment in public funds, or the conduct of other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. Reasons for the closed session is related to the wastewater industrial service agreement. I'll leave it at that.
I'll second it.
A motion, say aye.
No.
Roll call.
Roll call, sorry. Gage,
Aye.
Gunderson,
Aye.
Nadowski.
Aye.
7:23.